building cultural connection on social media.
All right.
Looks like I could see everybody. Cool.
So, pretty much everyone in here has been with us throughout the day. Just real quick, I'm Danielle Nicole, co-founder of Be Well. This is a community wellness session. And today we have two presenters. They're co-hosting together, Tahyira and Janelle. And so I will let you guys take it away from here. Do your thing.
Awesome. Thank you, Danielle, so much for even putting this whole Be Well Summit together. I think this was dope. I remember you, it was an idea. I feel like we were at a bar just talking about it and you had an idea. And then I love when people had an idea. We were just talking and then I see it here in real life. It takes a lot of space between the idea and getting it. So shout out to you, girl.
Also, that just shows you how long ago this idea
didn't mean to put that part out, but yeah.
And we can no longer be at bars. So just the time frame was about
right.
So yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So thank you again, Danielle, for putting this all together. I feel like as we navigate not only just COVID, but just life as Black and brown folks, spaces like this are so essential. So kudos to you. Thank you for allowing us to just share in each other's space on this Saturday. And so I guess to get things started, we'll just introduce ourselves. Tahyira, do you want to go first?
Sure, I'll go first. Okay, so I'm Tahyira Savannah. I'll just give you guys a quick background of my story. I became an entrepreneur around 2012, and I'm one of these entrepreneurs that didn't start with money. I'm first generation born. My family's from Trinidad and Tobago. What happened to me, why I am the way I am now, is because of the recession. That's a legitimate answer. I call myself a recession millennial. It was I had a master's degree. I went to an all-white school, LIU, post, graduated, shiny student, ready to work for somebody and down, and it was nothing. So I quickly learned how to just find my way and stuff like that. So that was 2012. This is 2020. A lot of stuff has happened in between then and now. But the biggest highlight, I guess, would say is that I took my brand and myself and my client turned husband to California, Hollywood. And that's really where it cemented to me, hey, you are the master of your world. You have the capacity to build something, even though you are first generation born and no one in your family has anything, And then in California, I met my friend Perky, who is in here right now. We started doing events. And we launched for us to kind of be a Juneteenth kind of event and, thinking that to find community for Black people, for West Indian people in Los Angeles. And we noticed that it was a huge void, bigger than an event. It's whoa, there's nothing even here. So we got together, put For Us together, and this is where we are right now, For Us Nation. We're big on building safe spaces. We use Instagram, we use Twitter, we use Facebook to find people in our community. But it's really for off the gram and off the line type of building. It's about community wealth. It's about having those deep conversations. It's about mental health. It's about everything that we're up here to discuss. So in a nutshell, that's Tahyira, that's me. And that's why I'm here. I'm here to hang out with you guys on this Saturday.
Sweet. And so myself, my name is Janelle Martinez. I'm a multimedia journalist specializing in culture and identity. I write for a bevy of different outlets, from Baremezcla, Adweek, to The Fader, amongst many others. And I also created in December of 2013 a digital community known as Ain't I Latina. A lot of the writing that I do is founded in being a Black woman of Latin American descent and not necessarily seeing all aspects of my identity amplified in media. And so it was really that sort of void that I saw. I turned it into an opportunity to showcase just the nuance and culture of Blackness, and as many of us already know, right? And so, have been growing that community for close to 7 years at this point. And so really just advocating, celebrating, and highlighting Black women of Latin American descent. And so I think that sort of segues, as you've heard both Tahyira and myself talking about the communities that we built. Today's conversation is really rooted in cultural connection and social media. How do we build and sustain these communities, right? And so just briefly to talk about the format, we're going to be having a deeper conversation about the communities that we've built,
right.
Throwing it out to you all for questions, and then naturally segueing into an activity. So yes, that is
that's us in a nutshell.
indeed.
We have some like questions. So what we're gonna do right here, we're basically gonna interview each other so you guys get to understand more of like how we got from, like I think, my story, Janelle's story. There is a pathway. So we found some questions that we think might be like helpful for us to kind of do. So I'll take the first one. I'm gonna ask Janelle. How have you been able to use social media to build communities where our voices and our passions can be amplified?
Yeah. This question, I've been mulling over it a little bit, but I think for sure, there's
a lot in there.
Yeah, it's layered. And I think, to be honest, I've kind of fell into community building. And I also feel like this is a common story with a lot of us, right? I think as we navigate I don't even want to say mainstream, but a lot of us navigate these all white spaces, whether it's professionally, whether it's in certain social settings. And so we constantly have to sort of look for this other, which is just ourselves, right? And so for me, I sort of fell into this notion of like, I'm tired of like searching for certain communities. I was a part of certain communities, but like really wanting to see, again, that full scope from a media landscape. And so I decided to launch a digital community, Ainsa Latina, and really a lot of the conversation and things of that nature have been rooted in social media. And I think the biggest thing I would say is really, in addition to myself being a part of the community, which has been really supportive in terms of like thinking about what are the needs, right? What are things that are going to sustain this community? It's also really important to listen. And that's something that as the community grew, I needed to realize or to figure out how do I listen intently with the community as it grows. So like, what tools on social can I use?
Tools.
Do I just ask via a social poll, what are some of your concerns? And so I think in creating an authentic and genuine community, that being the first step, but then also figuring out as we continue to scale and grow, how do I make sure that I'm staying up on the pulse of what the conversation is through tools or through just asking the community. And so I think that's how it's been able to sustain a culmination of voices, is through a combination of those things, I would say.
Right. Yeah, I totally can see that. I guess I'll answer the question too, and you can actually.
Yeah, I was gonna say for you. Yeah, I was gonna say for you.
So for me, it kind of came about like I was on social media. This is like a cool thing for me. I was on social media before I was like on social media, right? I had a Twitter, I had a Facebook, I had IG. I don't know, maybe not Instagram. I think I had Facebook and Twitter. And through college, sharing stuff like what the community of Facebook actually was built off college students, like it was about class and like, homework and stuff like that. So outside of that, I graduated now, didn't get a job. It's the recession. At the same time, Black Lives Matter, they killed Trayvon Martin. Black Lives Matter comes out. And I have a master's degree. My background is in criminal justice. So I'm like, how can I now use my Twitter account to now share all the stuff that I learned that I can't use at a job to someone? And that's exactly how my social media kind of persona, I let the good times roll, Tahyira Savannah, came about. It was like activist work at first, and then just like more just amplifying voices or just letting people know, like, I see everyone's reading this, but there's like 10,000 posts under this hashtag, and this is something that you could learn. Just show, you know what I mean? And that's kind of like where I found community. Like, people come across my feed, they know I'm outspoken. They know it's either ranting on something that either Donald Trump said, or they shot another Black kid, or, or I'm promoting one of my friend's event, or like a website that you don't read, whatever, that PIF or whatever, I'm just throwing stuff out there. But read this girl's site because she actually went to college and she's like knows what she's saying. I was that person, just like shuffling. And then after the shuffling, I was like, I'm just gonna start doing my own thing and just actually build communities now. Like, now I figure out what the tools are needed and what people are missing, and so that's how I learned. I learned in social media, and then I use social media to build.
No, that's amazing. Oh, Danielle, I know.
Oh, how do we?
You're on mute. Oh, let me unmute you, girl.
Oh, yeah.
I know. I was like, oh,
I hear you.
When y'all said co-host, y'all meant co-host too. I just wanted to ask it. I love what y'all both just said, and like, even thinking about the resources, how a lot of us are creating these like social media accounts. Well, on one hand, it's like social media, like you need to detox. Like there's just so much fluff going on, right? But then in the midst of all of that, what is really cool is that like I find a lot of my resources by following like-minded people, like in my circle, like everyone here in this room. And like we're sharing like what books we're reading. Oh, if someone's like really interested in financial investing, then I'm like, okay, what are they reading? Like just beauty tips, everything. And it's just
Right.
become this like go-to thing for me too. And like to your point, I'm like, let me just start now curating who I'm looking at. And I look up and it unintentionally, but in a good way, I realize like everyone that I'm following is really like, they look like me because like
Yep.
that I'm curious about, which is
right.
Cool. Okay, I'll go back on mute. Go ahead,
No worries. I think that was
great.
Point.
Yeah.
So here, a question I have for you, especially because I know you mentioned, you touched upon the fact that like, you know, we were seeing the Trayvon Martin and these sort of like very heavy things come across our feeds and come across, you know, in conversation. And, you know, part of the work though has been creating a safe space. So I'm curious for you, in your eyes, what constitutes a safe space?
Honestly, that's something that it's funny enough that me and Ashley, my partner Perky, who's also in the chat right now, we run For Us together. It's funny, before we met each other, like I was, you know, she was living in Brooklyn. She's from originally California. She moved to like New York, went to like some school and stuff here. I did like kind of the opposite. But like when we met in California, we have the same background. She marched, she was doing like die-ins and stuff for Trayvon Martin, Black Lives Matter. It's the same thing that motivated her kind of out of this, like stop being just ignoring what's happening, you know? It's just like that. So I guess when we talk about that For Us, the safe space is just when you are around like-minded people, that is what creates the safe space. It's when you're in environments where people don't understand what you're saying and your ideas are not valuable and you're, you know, a white person won't understand our Black Lives Matter issues because they're not Black. It's very simple. But there are a lot of white people that we've met marching that do understand. They're allies. They have whatever it is for them that motivates them to do what they, you know? So that's how you do it. Like safe spaces, I feel like is just like the person creating the space has to dictate what that safe space is. On the opposite, like just right now, because I'm talking about this whole Doja Cat thing, we can just loop this in really quick. Wherever she was on that website, Tiny Chats, whatever, to the white supremacists, that's their safe space. You get what I'm trying to say? Everybody got a safe space. We didn't know that's what they were doing or whatever, you know? But I think that what constitutes a safe space, and it doesn't necessarily have to look like what we think it is, you know? That's just me.
Yeah, no, I love that point that you just made. I think when I think about a safe space, very much so similar, I think being amongst our people is a safe space, right? Like there's no need to explain certain terminology. We don't need to code switch. We don't need to do any, not that I'm advocating, by the way, code switching in any environment.
Yeah, I like code switching. But I like when people talk about code switching because I don't do it either, but like I see that a lot of people do and I like that conversation.
Yeah, like that's layered.
Real.
You know?
Yeah, it's real. Mm-hmm. It's like, wow.
Exactly. And so it's like, you know, just being amongst our people is really just safe. I think to kind of go back to a point that I made earlier about like really listening intently to like the needs of the space and knowing like what works. Because I do think what's important about safe spaces is safe spaces can transform and change. So what worked at one point may not at another point. And so it's like, how do you have values across the board within this safe space that allows for growth? And then also something that, transparently speaking, I'm working through when it comes to building safe spaces is the fact that like, if there is a violation, and I'm using that in quotes, right? Like if there's a violation within a safe space, how do you still maintain the safe environment, right? Because I know working in the digital space, something that I've encountered is because it's so open, having people that just want to troll or people that just want to come in and just be on the opposite, you know, opposing end of views come in and like really like attack other people that are in this space. And so how do I navigate that? And I know for me, I just am like, this ain't the space for you. So block, click, you know, whatever, which, you know, works. But I also think if we reimagine or like think about like reformative spaces, like how does taking action look like? And that's something I'm still working through.
Right. Someone asked a question, Delilah. I'm trying to unmute you, girl. Unmute. Delilah?
Hey, yes. It was more like a comment rather than a question.
Well, yeah, like a comment, yeah. But I don't know if people are seeing the chat, but just say what you said in the chat. Still.
Yeah, I was basically saying that it's challenging amongst some of our people because not everybody's doing their due diligence and their part to seek out information, right? People just like kind of whatever they hear or they read, they just take it at face value and kind of don't critically analyze things. And so it kind of is a disservice to us in some instances.
Very true. Some of the things that we push out for us is, well, like actually me specifically, because we come from the college, it's like research before you share. Like, don't just be, oh my God, mad people share. Just because a lot of people agree doesn't mean that it's a fact. We learned that in college, right? We learn how to research. So it's like, that's an important thing that we need to say in our community. For us to keep this space safe, then we have to do our part to like, let me Google this really quick to see what y'all talking about before I go in rant on it. And it's not a lot of work, you know? So I totally agree.
That's important. I also think too, if you make a mistake,
Danielle as well. Oh, she's gonna mute herself.
If you like, I know I'm like trying to figure out that whole mute situation, but like if you do make a mistake, it's okay to acknowledge that, right? So like if someone does decide to like share some misinformation, you know, I would hope that they would correct themselves and note that instead of just like, because I've seen a lot on Twitter, people just delete it and it's like, it still exists somewhere. Like we could still acknowledge it and maybe create additional conversation from that.
Right. Word.
To Tahira's point too, like you just mentioned something that was very interesting where you were like, you know, do your research. Like just because you see something online doesn't mean that it's like fact, right? And the one thing though, the slightly like negative side of social media is like because there's so much conversation happening in social, you sometimes like get overwhelmed with the amount of conversation that then you look up, you're like, when's the last time I actually formed an opinion for myself? Like without just like when I'm in conversation with somebody else, like reiterating the conversations I saw on Twitter. Like, are these my thoughts or are these just the same things that I am like literally reading on my feed?
And that's important that you're saying that because I feel like that's exactly where our mental health issues start coming in. It's that right there. It's like, wait, close the app because it's like, whose idea was, you know, and it's that because it's overwhelming. Like, you know, if you're taking it, they're saying nonsense this whole COVID. That's what people are promoting in the science world too. It's like, this is not normal to be taking all this information. We've been taking information on our news feeds for years already, you know, but like now they're talking about it with the news and COVID. It's not normal to hear data reports of death numbers updating like a, you know, it's not normal.
Yeah.
So
it's compassion fatigue.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If anybody else wanted to like kind of, we're trying to manage these chats. Y'all talking now. Wave your hand if you're trying to talk.
No. Oh,
Danielle,
I think Turkey, right?
Yeah. Hey.
And
I was like, let me show my face. Hi, everybody. So I just wanted to add in on the safe space, and then I want to touch on the mental health thing as well. So like, me and Tahyira, we both do come from like a education background. I personally am a social worker. So when I say safe spaces outside of like what we create, like this right here is a safe space, I believe. But I also think what makes a safe space is when we come into a space and we create our parameters, like autonomously. Like we say, okay, when somebody is speaking, one mic, you know, we won't use hate language and we won't use vulgarity or whatever, like having the parameters within our own space so that we know, because like how you said, Janelle, you don't know how to keep somebody out or like how to set up that boundary. If you have like the rules to begin with, then if somebody crosses the line or they break the boundary, you can address it because we all came up with it together. And then if they don't adhere to it, then it's like, okay, now we can remove you from the space. It won't be any hard feelings. I won't have any guilt about it because we came up with these rules together. And then I think also with like the mental health, I think right now with what everything is going on, like, yeah, it's good to like sign off because everything's so digital right now. Like everything is on Zoom, everything like stuff by choice and stuff for work, you know? So it's just like,
don't come to my event.
No, I'm not. I'm saying it's a good thing. Like we can now travel. Well, we can't travel because everything is shut down. But like if we were able to travel, this is what we wanted. Like we wanted to be able to do what we wanted in our own spaces. But now it's just like, okay, like this is a lot. And so I think being able to turn off some stuff and then also checking in because we're isolating. So I think it's easy to forget, out of sight, out of mind. So just checking in with people that we don't see often and making sure that everybody's okay.
Right. That's lit. Thank you, Ashley. Ashley's my co-founder. All right, so let's move up. Well, no, actually, this is
there's one question.
Oh, go ahead.
There's one question I noticed in the chat from Jason. The question was, do you guys feel like there's too much of a loop of the same info to the same people on social media, especially Instagram and Facebook? And I definitely feel like that is for sure the case. I think when we think about creating stuff, you know, we're working against algorithms at the end of the day that, you know, feed into what is coming up, the frequency and things of that nature. And so I've even seen people get like banned, or what is it, shadow banned?
I'm shadow banned, guys, for Black Lives Matter.
You see, right, things of that nature, which is wild. This is information that is supportive of our communities, but it's very interesting because the engineers and everything of that nature, like literally they determine what we're seeing. So it's wild.
Yeah. Remember, Instagram is owned by Facebook. Facebook is created by Mark Zuckerberg. Mark Zuckerberg is not part of our community. So, you know what I mean? It's still just connecting the dots of where we are. I mean, Zoom, I heard Elizabeth Warren talking about Zoom. You know, that's another thing too, I think the COVID has kind of brought to the social media aspect. It's like, we're spending time on these ads. Are you guys checking privacy things? Like, what are they doing with our information? Are you know, like all those things are now coming higher up in the conversations, which we've been, like I said, we've been on these timelines for a long time now. They've been probably stealing our privacy, our information, hacking our, you know what I mean? They know where we live. They want us to put all our friends in one list. Why? Like, you know, like that stuff has been there. It's just that now, you know, I guess it's okay to ask certain questions because everyone knows that everyone's using it there, you know? So yeah, good question. A lot of stuff going off in the chat. Let me see.
No, I believe that was.
This.
There's a shadow.
Oh, you got.
So I was just.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, shadow ban is when they block your reach. They can't block you because it's illegal. They can block your reach though because they control, like what Janelle said, the algorithm, right? So there's hashtags that and you get your account gets shadow banned for like certain periods of time because Facebook knows it's illegal. And once it gets to the media, they're going to have a major issue because it's censorship. And censorship in America is a big deal. So that's kind of where we at. But I don't want to stay too long here on this. Let's kind of move on. Because the next part was supposed to be for you guys to ask each other questions. But I guess we're doing it here. Q&A. Let's put on my Q&A. Let's see.
And I mean, there was a follow-up question around if there's alternative social media platforms, like Black-owned, like IG, Facebook platforms. If anyone's building it.
Whoever should start building it. That's a great, amazing question. Mm-hmm. We own this space. We have a whole entire like Twitter universe, Black Twitter itself.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Have our own platforms over technology and apps that are ran by us.
Right.
Yeah.
I can say for us, we're trying our best to build, you know, like apps. I'm not gonna say apps, but like we're trying to make our website that space. You know, we're trying to find a way. It's that Instagram and Facebook, they're obviously more accessible because that's what, you know, you can log into your email through Google, and through Facebook and all the, you know, that's what makes those apps further than the rest of what we're trying to do, you know. But I mean, there is a way. We talked about it after our event last week that kind of went crazy on Instagram chat. We're like, maybe we should move it to WhatsApp, which is also owned by Facebook. So it's like, you know, there's only so much we could do out here. But I mean, I'm down. I'm learning coding. I don't know if any of you guys have heard, like, you know, Black coding, and that's a big thing for us to kind of be in right now. So if you got the time, learn coding, Python coding. There's an 8-hour class on YouTube. Just play it whenever you have time. That stuff sinks in, and then when you need it, then go, you know, like that's how I'm learning in between everything else that I'm doing. I mean, that's the best that I can think right now. I don't know. Anybody else got any ideas?
It has to be built still. So
yeah, any coders in here, let us know.
It looks like Ashley had another question.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to go and speak for yourself? No.
Yes,
okay.
please.
It says,
"Come on, Ashley."
How do you get out of that loop of the same information from the same people? I attempted to follow some Black conservatives to get out of my bubble, but it was painful.
I feel like I know what you're saying, because I'm like that too on my everyday. I talk to like like what you would say, like I go on Twitter, right? And I'll talk to like a person that's completely different, like a white Donald Trump supporter. Yes, people I know it's like, that's obviously going to get into arguments. But, you know, some of them are not like all crazy. Some of them have legitimate point of views. And I think from the disagreeing to agree point of view, you may learn something, you know? When it comes to Black conservatives, I mean, I don't know. Yesterday, based off Charlamagne and Joe Biden's conversation, I know a lot of people were trying to reach out to me because I had my own personal opinion on that. And a lot of Black Trump supporters were trying to send me links and read this article and look what Donald Trump did for the Black communities. And, you know, so seek and you shall find, I guess, is the best way with that. You got to just look further, go unfollow, block, delete, you know, reset your Instagram, change it. You know, that's what you got to do, I think.
Yeah, I think Twitter is an effective avenue to do that. Instagram, I find, is kind of challenging just from my own experience. But because Twitter allows you to like follow hashtags and, you know, now you're seeing other people's conversations, if they've liked it, or rather if they've loved it, then it comes into your, you know, feed. So that's a way of like maybe looking at some other people's lists or like following their the hashtags. But personally, yeah, I would say Twitter over Instagram because I don't know, the algorithm is a little weird.
Right.
Yeah, Instagram's algorithm is weird. I clicked on one video and now what shows up in my feed is all the Kardashians. So,
oh my God. That's mad funny. I clicked one thing.
I like Stormy, but like I didn't need it to follow everybody else.
Facts. My story is all just Beyonce concerts, so I'm like, I just know all her dance moves because I don't know like why this is on my feed. I never share her stuff. It's just weird.
I don't, and you know, please try if you want to move away from the Q&A. I don't, you know, you all can still monitor this.
Yeah, no, we're gauging the time still because the next part goes to the activity. So if you guys have more questions, I think, right, Janelle?
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Leslie had a question. How do you navigate through negative comments on your social media?
Yeah, I would say.
Like... Okay.
I like respond. I know this, so I try to pick and choose when I respond, but like sometimes I'm navigating when it is that someone is just being malicious versus ill-informed and maybe needs to be redirected to some information, right? So some of the negative comments, well, for one, I would just block if it's like wild, because that is an option. But then also too, just speaking about like anti-Latina, some people come to the page with their like anti-Black rhetoric, or like this whole notion of Latinidad being like this like, you know, harmonious thing. And so some of those comments are rooted in that, but sometimes I educate the folks. Sometimes it's very clear that their intent is to harm or to like spew misinformation. And then that's when I will either like, you know, delete, block, because I also know that other people, you know, it's now other people that are having to navigate that too. It's not just like you're on my personal feed, you're on a feed where other people are engaging with this harmful information. And so I need to like remove it.
Yeah, and I would just add, like, as a person on social media and you're trying to build a community there, you have to learn. You have to discern a troll versus someone who's actually just misinformed, like what Janelle said, or a bot, or someone that's not even real, and they're just, you know, because that's what we're dealing with. A lot of the time is like that's what happened yesterday on Twitter. They were promoting the "You Ain't Black" hashtag based off the Charlamagne thing, and I'm like, it was Trump people that was pushing that hashtag, and Bernie Sanders supporters that still feel some type of way. Y'all didn't even know, you know, and people are like, wow, they know. Yeah, because you're not watching the entire thing. You just saw something and you, oh my God, I can't believe, you can't, again, go back to research. You can't just react, you know? So I feel like when you know more, it removes the space where you're about to get upset, about to get tight, you know? It's like, oh, you're a troll. You know, I get into stuff with people all the time, you know, because I'm outspoken and it makes people uncomfortable with a lot of stuff that I say. So I'm like, if just because you're uncomfortable, you're allowed to have your opinion. You know, sometimes a negative opinion may not be a negative opinion, may just be a different opinion, you know? So I would say that too. I feel like a lot of people on social media just like to talk because that's the format, you know? We're responsible. Our community is responsible for that. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We started right. Questions here? I'm slow to using Twitter. You did that to yourself. Okay, so we have. Did we skip a question? D, did you see another question? No, that was a lot. No.
There was one. Shantini said, "Do you think that because
I see it.
information comes so fast, is it traumatizing people at higher rates?"
Information comes back. Oh, you mean like your newsfeed refreshing, like Instagram, or maybe just like news in general?
Shantini.
Yeah, I'm gonna add. So, it was Barry. We just sharing the same computer. So no, I'm saying like, with the internet and like, social media is like at our fingertips. What I experience is that because the information comes so fast, like you're getting, news feeds, you're getting opinions from, like you guys are saying, from, trolls or bots. Do you feel like it's really, do you feel like it stops it from becoming a safe space when you have to navigate all of that negativity? Is the space one,
right?
You're dealing with all of that in it.
No, I think social media in general, like the people who run Facebook, like Facebook is aware. I remember when they put like the hearts and all that stuff. They try to change like how we can engage based off like people's mental health and stuff like that. Like for real, like Instagram removed likes in certain countries. That was a big thing. It didn't happen. I didn't see it. I still saw likes all the time. But some people said that they saw it here in America, in other countries, they removed them. So it's like, I guess they're trying their best to make it safe, like I deleted, and there's somebody that I follow, he's my friend, it's a comedian. He put up a picture, and I keep seeing a lot of this, like people having sex just straight up on social media, like it's porn almost. Like I'm like, this is not like I removed it. Instagram sent me a message as if like my video got blocked or whatever, but they're like, hey, we responded to your hate, whatever. We removed the video. We let that user know. I guess it's our job to clean it up when we see something crazy. Report. Taraji's big on that. Taraji puts it on. I think it's in her bio, or maybe she moved it, but she's like, I delete and block and report. Like she used to say that. Like, don't come on my feed. You have to, I think, maybe say that. Like, set the tone. Like what I think Perky was saying before. Parameters. Like we say on I let the good times roll, on for us. This is not what I do here. So take it to someone, and that alone will clean it up. I think.
That's a good point, Barry, because I feel like that's what Tahyira and Janelle and I, when I approached them about this topic, we did have that discussion of like honestly, like social media is just overwhelming. And because it can be overwhelming, and because there's like so many, I don't want to say, like, for lack of better words, like negative things that come with it, like are these really safe spaces, right? And then we actually had to have a real conversation about what are the specific conversations that we feel celebrate Black and brownness on social media as a community, right? And so the hashtags came up. So like Black Girl Magic, Black Boy Joy, even with not necessarily a celebration, but just amplifying voices. So Black Lives Matter. Like we were actually like pulling out those moments to really kind of like fish through all of the other things that are happening in social stuff. It's like, you're right. Like the zeitgeist is just, it's a lot to navigate. Everyone jumps on, they have their own things like that. But there are all these like really small nuggets of celebration and or like just amplifying voices that then make you realize that, wow, like, this stuff has always been going on in our community, like in terms of, we know our culture, or we know the social and economic issues that affect our communities, right? But I think, before we didn't have social media, and now it does kind of, in the context of our safe spaces, make it feel like, okay, at least I don't feel like I'm struggling on my own with dealing with this, on how, like, is this really just something that is bothering me? Because I can now choose to curate my community a specific way, where now I am around like-minded voices. And it's a very interesting thing. And I think that's why I really wanted, to bring both of them in to talk about this, because it is interesting. You can't talk about wellness without talking about like social media and technology and how that's like impacting.
I like what you guys are saying, and I just feel like something for me, being like, I guess, a community leader, and I do a lot of my work is like in spaces. So with social media, and maybe it's because I know it and I know how to navigate it, but I just feel like sometimes the information on all platforms, even, you know, platforms that are for Black people, it's so daunting. With like, you see Ahmaud Arbery, and then next week you see somebody else, and you feel like you have to fight the fight in every state across the world. You know what I mean? Because it's like we get information where I feel like, you know, not that we need to go back in the day, but, you know, if the NAACP in Georgia was dealing with a shooting, like they had their leaders in Georgia that dealt with it, and they kind of like dealt with it as a community. And now it's like, it becomes like, and it is a world problem, but to see it all at once, sometimes I feel like it, you know, it builds levels of anxiety. Like you feel like, damn, do I have the capacity of doing anything? Because you see the shootings in 5 different states.
Yeah.
You know, so it's how do we create safe spaces for
I can agree with that. I actually felt the same way you're saying now. I felt that same sentiment and I think I said this already to Janelle and Danielle, that like when Diddy and them were like a few weeks ago was promoted, and had a whole revolt thing about the whole coronavirus affecting Black people. I'm like, why are y'all leading this conversation? Like, what is supposed to be happening? You bringing in rappers to tell me what exactly?
Absolutely.
You know, like what was the point of this? Like y'all don't influence us as Black people because Diddy, like that's really where it was. So I'm like, what is the point of this? For your white friends to be like, oh, you out? No. Right. I was really upset. They brought in AOC and all these other people. I'm like, y'all so interested in Black brownie points that nobody cares about our community and that people are already dead. So it's like, But if it was us, all of us up here on that revolt, I guarantee you something would have happened.
Yes.
But you know, that's a separate. You know what I mean? So I agree, bro, 100%.
Yeah.
We just gotta again. Maybe we just gotta. I don't know. We gotta do more. I guess I don't know.
We do.
Yeah.
You know what? I was just saying this because I just had a conversation with a young white guy who's doing a podcast, and I was like, he was like, we got to do more. I was like, no, we don't got to do more. We just got to do everything. You know, we got to have
that one. That's your quote, bro.
Also have to kind of like be in our community. Like, so if you do something on a social media platform, then go inside of the school and take that hashtag with the young people inside of the school.
Yeah.
And, you know, like those type of things. Like,
yes.
You got a left leg and a right leg. You can't just keep using your left leg because they're good at desensitizing us and kind of like creating these algorithms that now we can't get our message out. So, you know, that's
I feel like too, it's about how you organize. Because to your point that now we have so much exposure to everything, it's like a good and a bad thing. But like if we look at some of our past leaders, like Marcus Garvey, like who wrote papers and made sure to connect all the information, like Malcolm X that made sure to highlight things. It's like we always had people that was trying to bring the awareness up. And then we had the key community leaders that we're supposed to connect to when something happens. Like, okay, so something happened, like with the water issue and in Flint. So it's just like, okay, like I want to help, but rather than me being like, you know what, I'm gonna just load my truck up with a whole bunch of waters and take it to Flint. It's like, let me use social media to find who the lead community organizers are in Flint. Ask them, what do you guys need, rather than me assuming, and then me helping to bridge that gap with my community as well. And then I think what works well with me and Tahyira, I'm really good at speaking to people and being outside and doing the community stuff. And then I disappear on social media. Like I can't do both. Like you either get some really good social media days with me and nothing in the community, or you get everything in the community and nothing on social media.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I try to reach out to her and I'll be like, okay, I'm gonna disappear for a while because I got some stuff to do.
That's the truth.
So like that's how I get my left and my right leg to be moving.
You can't do it all. No, for real. That's why my last brand that I formed, I'm like, I need a partner because we can't actually do this by ourselves, you know? So it's like we tag team as much as we possibly can. So that, good that you brought that point in.
This is dope.
Oh, wait, we all muted. Whoops. Janelle, mute yourself.
I know I was on mute because there's some construction going on.
Oh, right.
And all of that. But no, I agree with everything that was said. And I also think it's important that we create our own boundaries, right? Like we're going to get a lot of information. And I think that like some days, as I think Perky, you mentioned, like, hey, some days you're going to be on social media, other days you're not, because simply you have to maintain your own mental wellness at the end of the day. And so, yes, it is a great tool, but then also we can also take time and space that we need to make sure that we're well so that we can continue doing the work.
Right.
Naj has, do you have?
No, go. Yeah.
Has a question. Actually, Naj is my roommate, so she's like right next door.
Hey, girl.
Do you feel like you are paving new trails when it comes to activism and social media?
I wouldn't say new trails, because me as an activist, like, you know, I got the fro on Angela Davis. I'm not really doing much. You know, we're the new generation of this same story. It's unfortunate that they keep saying, oh, we still fighting for Black lives, but like, I think it was Barry said before, is that we're going to be doing everything until, you know what I mean? Like, that's my favorite part of a James Brown kind of song. I think he says, like, we got to keep going until we get our share or something like that. It's like, brother, we can't quit until we get our share. That's what I'm on every day, you know? So social media is how we communicate, right? It's like, I don't check my emails, I check my DMs. So that's why we're there, you know? It's like, I'm trying to get young Black kids to like, all right, come up for Snapchat, or you're going to be on Snapchat. Let's do this march. Like, you know what I mean? Let's show the people in our community that we're not disenfranchised and we actually do things together. It's not just about partying, chilling, and doing things that, you know what I mean, they know what to do, or crimes or whatever what they want to say about us, you know? Social media is our opportunity to show the world what we actually are about. So yeah, I think I'm paving new ways.
Oh, but if y'all want to write us a letter, I'm definitely down to write letters, though. If we could get across all this shadow banning, so we could definitely use
that too. That too. We got to use the old Black Panther, like, meeting. You don't know what's going on in here. It's like, we got to bring that back, but we're trying to figure out how. Maybe Zoom. Don't promote the link.
You know, the one thing I always think about, because, you know, we use, you know, Wakanda and things like that, and, you know, in the work that I do, like, I think one of the biggest things that stood out to me in Wakanda, which was the most simplest, was when the only way you can get in Wakanda was you had to go through that bubble. And I feel like as a people, we tend to, or we've been taught that we need to fight what will never agree with us. It's like fighting being in an abusive relationship. Like, if that person,
that's crazy you said that, because that's exactly what I heard someone say yesterday about the same exact conversation. It's like being Black in America is like being in an abusive relationship. Wow.
Yeah, so like how long do we continue to fight this person before we just digress and turn to our community and just revitalize? Like, you know, like when I watch Black Panther all the time, and it was just like, they didn't want the world to know what they was doing because they already knew what jewels and gems they had. It was just like, so if we were to, and I mean, of course we got to fight, you know, what comes in front of us, but I just wish that at some point we just turned around and just, all of us great leaders just came and just build up one community at a time and just took the little scraps that we had, like we always been doing, and like really create another Black Wall Street and things like that, instead of like trying to like fight for, I guess, equality. Like, you will never be equal in this system. It's never gonna, you know what I mean? It's like, it's a false construct because they have built it for the bottom third. And I want to, if we really want to be Wakanda, then we got to build a bubble like the Asian people do. You know what I mean? Like, they live in this place, they feel like they're in a parallel. You know what I mean? You see them in Chinatown, and it's just like they are living there. Now, of course, they have their struggles, but they're not worried about what this government does, you know? And I hope that we can find a formula for that.
That was a beautiful segue. I think Janelle can agree, and Danielle. Well, maybe you guys had got this stuff in the email, but that was the activity we wanted to kind of work on with you guys a little bit here, and then like have you guys like after we're finished, and you know. So you want to like kind of, I'm losing my bandana. Want to kind of explain to them, Janelle?
Just before you do, so just going to be mindful on time. We have about 5 more minutes left.
Good.
It's what's good. Let's keep these conversations, y'all, on IG.
Right. I definitely think that this could be a start to we've been having the conversation, but definitely the activity will lead into some more engagement that we can have online. So the wheel, actually, I don't know.
I'm trying to see if I pull it up. I don't have it on this device. Did you guys get the wheel in the email? The focus wheel?
I can pull it up and share it.
Yeah, you can share it if you can. Thank you. Sorry, I don't know what's happening to this phone right now. You never want us to be great. Come on.
So essentially what the premise of the activity is really to talk, and I think we started it when it came down to Wakanda, right? And so like if we build our own community like a Wakanda, what would that look like, right? So like filling in and talking about like characteristics that we feel would be essential to the community that we are creating. So,
right. And just to explain to you guys a little bit about like the focus wheel, like what the intentions of a focus wheel, if you haven't heard of it before, it was actually Danielle's idea. I learned about it just in this week to prepare for this for you guys, but it's actually cool. I'm going to use it a lot more now. A focus wheel is basically like kind of like self-accountability, right? So it's like, we're saying we want you to build your own Wakanda. So that's their goal, right? It's like, what are the steps you need to do to like make sure that you get to the middle goal in the circle, you know? So each thing you say, and the reason they have it in the wheel is because you're not supposed to really break your focus. You're supposed to like think. So if we were saying Wakanda, it would be like Wakanda, the hashtag Wakanda forever. It'd be like vibranium. It'd be like, you know what I mean? His suit or whatever, like the sand, like, because we know that we all watched the movie. So for yourself now, like when you're thinking about your own world, like think along those kinds of lines. Or what people know you for the hashtag, what would be your special features? What would be your technology? You know what I mean? Like what's happening in this kingdom. So I don't know if we have much time to do it here together, but this is what we wanted to kind of maybe start. Maybe you guys have some ideas, share a few of them. What would your, you know, maybe a name of your world.
And also, I did send this out to whoever was registered for or pre-registered for this morning around 7 a.m. But what we'll do is after the event, I'll make sure that everyone gets this as well.
Can we do like a Be Well flashback or check back? Like maybe a week from now, like for this one particular thing?
Mm-hmm. Woo!
I don't know. I don't want to add no more.
I'm down.
This is like what this was for. This is exactly what this is for. I mean, yes, like I'm down to like break off, have these like little silo sessions and continue the conversation. Because yeah, like that's exactly what we wanted to create.
What we're trying to build, yeah.
Right here. So why stop it? You know.
Mm-hmm.
He's gonna cut us off in a minute.
I'm not. But yeah, you know, if one or two people, you know, have like a quick, you know, idea or thought they want to share with this and answering this question, go for it. Don't be, you know, don't feel a certain type of way if I be like, all right, cut time.
Yeah, that's not us. This is Zoom.
And it's your community, so feel free to just throw out what it is that would be essential for you.
All right, Janelle, you go. You have one?
So I would say it would look like peace, right? I know I can kind of get deeper with that, but I think peace is like a theme that comes up for me.
Okay. Mine would be like, you said peace. So I would say like peace. And then the next piece would be like utopian in the space where the value is in like the way you treat someone, not in like possession, if that makes sense. I don't know how the heck to write that down as a part of my world, but that's what I would say. Like, you know, it's like utopian, but doesn't mean that like we all have still roles, you know, there's farmers and there's, you know, doesn't mean that those things don't have value, but it's not how we dictate. It's like, well, you got more money, so I guess you're more lit than me. Like, it wouldn't be that. It'd be just, since you have more money, I guess there's something wrong. You know what I mean? Like the opposite kind of thing. No. Anybody else?
I don't have time for another one. I do apologize, but if you click Janelle and Tahyira, if you want to jot down your information in the chat, I will stay logged on for about another 30, 40 seconds so everyone can get your information.
Cool.
And then
do it here really quick.
I'll figure out how to, you know, connect all of us and really continue the conversation of what that looks like, because this was a great start, I think. And it's also an example of, you know, just being open to the possibility of how things go. I think we planned it to go a certain way. We wanted to do like an exercise and things like that, and just being able to just be open with just the conversation that just happened here is another example of how great it is when you could just be present and just allow things to just happen as they should. So I thank everyone for showing up. We have one more event, which is our spiritual wellness pillar. So we have 2 workshops real quick. One is going to be facilitated by a pastor who will do a message around transformation and keeping the faith. And the other one will be about, will be led by an energy healer, and she will explore like what it means to explore your spirituality, connecting to the divine. So thank you all so much. As we head into our always.
This is great.
How do I go? I can go there right now from this, or it's a different link, right?
It's a different link, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. You can go to our website. I mean, if I have to like jump into that one.
I know. Yeah, no, you do you. I got you. I'm gonna find it myself and get myself in.
All
Thank you, though. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you,
Janelle.
Thank you, Tahyira. We're gonna chat more.